I'll be talking to you about the surgical options in this disease. It's very uncommon for a patient with central CS retinopathy to undergo surgery for drainage of the fluid, but it's quite rare. To just give you a number, in the last 12 years, we have done only 5 cases where we've done external drainage in 1 case and internal drainage in 4 cases. So it's that rare that it's very unusual for a patient to undergo surgery for this disease. Before going to the surgical options, for at least for the general ophthalmologist, like for conventional laser, how do you go about choosing your patients for conventional laser before you move on to surgery? What I follow, I just tell you the rules. What I follow is that we'll just take it whether it's the first episode or a recurrent episode. First episode for the patient himself. It's not like for the particular eye, whether it's for the patient. The first episode resolved without, if it's just a first episode, you can always wait for 3 to 4 months, and if it's not resolving, then you can go for the laser. If it's a recurrent episode, that is like the first episode can be in the right eye and the recurrent episode can be in the left eye, doesn't matter. It's the recurrence for the patient himself as a whole, not for the eye. The first episode left him with any residual vision loss in the first episode, then you have to go and treat the second episode immediately, because suppose he lost reading vision in the right eye and he's got a fresh episode in the left eye. If you don't treat and that eye also goes for a vision loss, then he's going to be totally rendered jobless. So you cannot wait just because it's the first episode for that particular eye. You should not check it as the first episode. You always take it as the second episode, recurrence episode for the patient as a whole. The first episode does leave him with the vision loss, always treat him immediately. And if the first episode resolves that vision loss, then you can also wait. So that's how we take it. But if the patient warrants immediate recovery, like he's a pilot or as a doctor who wants to resume his job immediately, then all these rules are cancelled and we can treat immediately. That's how we go about treating conventional laser in a patient with a fresh case of or recurrent case of central serous retinopathy. So as I told you, surgical requirement for this disease is very, very rare, and most often just observation and laser is just adequate. But in the presence of a very large bullous retinal detachment which involves the fovea even in erect posture, being this an exudate retinal detachment and the fluid tends to shift here and there. So even in erect posture, if the patient is sitting on a slit lamp and you're seeing with an 90D, still if the fluid is involving the macula, then that you should think about doing a surgery. And if it's persisting in spite of observing for 1 or 2 months or 3 months, if it's still persisting and the macula is not dry, then you have to go, because with so much fluid, it's very difficult to assess the angiogram and also very difficult to deliver laser to the areas which it is needed. So in these cases, especially in all the 5 cases which you operated, they were one-eyed patients. They had lost the other eye vision because of CSR, and they had a recurrent episode in the better eye with the non-dissolving fluid and fluid involving the posterior pole even in erect posture, and all these patients underwent surgery in our clinic. So because of the extensive loss of RP function in this patient, the fluid tends to go out of the eye very slowly, and longer the fluid, the poorer the visual prognosis. So this is one of like patients with like this, see the extensive fibrin, extensive retinal detachment, even in erect posture you can see that the fluid is involving the fovea. These are the ideal eyes, and especially when the other eye is also not seeing well, then these are the eyes for which should be taken up for surgery. One more patient here, the fluid is more bullous in the inferior quadrant, but the right eye is okay, but the left eye you can see that right eye is not okay, already the macula is scarred, but the fluid is not there, but the visual function is poor. But on the left eye again you can see that the shallow level of fluid in the posterior pole, with again subretinal fibrosis. So then if you leave the left eye also, then it can go on to scarring like which has happened in the right eye, leading to very poor prognosis. You can see that the diffuse epitheliopathy here, you don't see point leaks, you have multiple diffuse leaks. And if you want to do laser also, you will have to do TTT or PDT. We cannot go for conventional laser in these particular eyes. The very sick eyes which do not respond very well to the modalities of laser surgery. So there are 2 options which we can approach and do and drain this fluid. So the drainage of fluid will mainly facilitate the better visualization of the fundus and also easier delivery of the laser, either the PDT or the TTT in the postoperative period or sometimes in the intraoperative period also. You can do either you can do a drainage externally like you do in a subretinal, like in a scale buckling surgery where you drain the fluid through a sclerotomy. You can do that either that way, or you can do internal drainage, do a pars plana vitrectomy, clear off the vitreous, and then make a retinotomy, and using a flute needle you can just remove this fluid. There have been a few reports. As I told you, it's not very common to have surgery in these patients. This was a report by Dr. Benson. It was in 1980. So this was the first report of external drainage in a patient with the bullous non-regumbragenous retinal detachment due to CSCR. There was a large amount of dense subretinal fibrin and so he was finding it difficult to allow the fluid to drain through the external sclerotomy, and because of the fluid shifting to the lowest part, if you do a peripheral anterior sclerotomy, you may not be able to drain the fluid fully. So he used frequent injections of intravitreal air or fluid to push this fluid again up and allow it to drain through the external sclerotomy. So it's not very easy to make a complete drainage, and injecting air may make the visual media very hazy, so that the postoperative period doing laser therapy or doing a fluorescent angiography may not be that very easy. So Kang, he devised a new instrument, that's the SR-AID. It is a subretinal aspiration and injection device. It's his own indigenous device which he used to insert it through transsclerally, which can facilitate controlled extrusion of the fluid from the subretinal space. So because the oblique transscleral entry, it was determined to be safer than the conventional drainage, and the dryness of the retina is examined using the indirect ophthalmoscope. But the thing is, it's very difficult to handle this device, and neither it's available commercially. It's only which he devised and used it for himself. So one more report by Adan et al. They treated through internal. They combined internal procedure and external drainage. They did a pars-plana vitrectomy, so that they injected PFCL so that the fluid will come up, and then used transscleral external drainage. And after the fluid was drained, they did the endolaser to the leaking points through the PFCL, and then replaced. Then at the end of the surgery, they removed the PFCL, and they did not inject any tamponade, because there was no need of injecting tamponade, because they did not make any retinotomy, because the drainage was external. This is just an animation to show what they did. So this is the bullous retinal CSR. So once they did a pars-plana vitrectomy and cleared the vitreous, they injected PFCL. So this PFCL, as the volume increased, it pushed the subretinal fluid up, and then they made a hole in the sclera anteriorly, allowing the fluid to egress and making the retina dry. Once the retina was dry, they did the internal laser, and then removed the PFCL and replaced it with the ringalactate. So one more report in the Cornell Journal by Zhu and Kang et al. In this particular series, they had a bilateral CSR. So first they performed external drainage only without any vitrectomy in the right eye, but they had a recurrence after 1 month. So then then there was also a recurrent CSR in the left eye. So finally they did transplasmana vitrectomy with internal drainage and laser and gas tamponade in both the eyes. So at this the end of 6 months, you can see that the right eye is, both the eyes are free of fluid, but the right eye vision is poor because of extensive foveal scarring. So this was they showed that the external drainage failed because of recurrence, and they preferred to do a internal drainage in both the eyes. So as I told you, we have done around 5 cases in the last 10-12 years, of which one was external drainage, and we did immediately after the next day after external drainage, we did TTT for the leaking points after doing a fluorescent angiography, and all the other 4 cases underwent internal drainage with the laser and silicone oil endotamponade. Just as one of the representative cases, this patient is a 43-year-old male who is a smoker and alcoholic. He came to us with a history of 1 month of vision loss in the left eye, and he was diagnosed elsewhere as VKH and was currently on oral steroids. The vision in the right eye was 6.6 and the left eye was 160. This is the fundus picture at presentation. You can see the dense subretinal fibrin just superior to the fovea in the left eye, and even in sitting position you can see that the fluid is involving the large extraretinal detachment with the fluid involving the fovea. This is the fluorescent angiograph showing some PEDs in the right eye. In the left eye, you can see that subretinal fibrin there showing as a hyperfluorescent band, and you can see the diffuse leakage point because of the RP epitheliopathy in this patient. So this is the ICG of the right eye, and the left eye you can see that just beneath the subretinal fibrin you can see areas of leakage. So first he underwent 2 sittings of TTT, which was separated by 2 months apart. There was no improvement, so we decided to take him up for vitrectomy with endodrainage, silicone oil injection, and endolaser. This is the post-operative 2 weeks picture showing the oil in situ and attached retina, and the subretinal fibrin is being replaced by subretinal band now. In the post-operative period, he developed a new episode of central serous retinopathy in the right eye. You can see the subretinal fibrin superior to the disc with a few hard X-rays in the subfoveal area, and the left eye you can see that the scar superior to the superior arcade, which is indicating the area of drainage. So whenever you're doing internal drainage, always make sure that the point of retinotomy is above the horizontal meridian, so that the oil can support this area very well. So you can see that now the right eye is developing multiple leaks. On the left eye, you can see that black round scar is the area where the laser was run following the drainage. And this is the OCT showing the fresh CSR in the right eye and attached retina in the left eye. So then finally we did PDT for the right eye and the fluid resolved. And the left eye, after oil removal, it was there was no recurrence in the left eye. Somehow what we see is that even after vitrectomy, and we have not seen any recurrence in the all the 5 eyes which were operated. It's very peculiar, because normally we feel that especially these chronic CSR tend to have multiple recurrences. But in our series, in all the 5 cases, we did not have any recurrence following internal or external drainage followed by laser. So to conclude, surgical management of bullous extraretinal detachment associated with the atypical CSC is considered, in our hands at least, it was seen to be safe and useful, and we did not see any recurrences also. But it should not be taken as a primary mode of therapy. It should be reserved only for the very bad cases, and especially one-eyed patients who don't have vision in the other eye. And if that is so, then you always don't hesitate, take them up for surgery so that you can give a better visual prognosis. Thank you.